Hello, welcome. My name is Karen Stanley. I'm a former teacher of about 20 plus years, more years than I care to remember, and now a 10 times published author. I write chick lit, which is kind of women's humorous fiction, and I also write children's books and poetry. I've been writing for about 10 years, and when I first started writing, I knew nothing. In fact, cancel that, I probably knew less than nothing, if there is such a thing. I was very green, I was very naive, I didn't really know how to make my writing work. I didn't know how to get my writing out there. And for me, publishing was just one of those myths that was almost out of my reach, really, and something that might happen to other people. I was very nervous about the whole process. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know where to get the right information. And as such, I was royally duped on a couple of occasions. So, what I want to do today is I just want to run through. If you're a new writer and you want to get your work published and you don't know how to go about it, I'm just going to give you a little bit of free advice, really. I'm trying, my mission is to be the person that I needed 10 years ago when I first set out. And there were many times along my writing journey where I almost gave up because it was so difficult. It was really hard to get the right answers. It was really hard to get answers that didn't cost me loads of money or lose me lots of money. It was really hard to get answers that didn't include lots of jargon or a real closed shop. So it's my mission to help new writers who are in exactly the same position that I was 10 years ago and help them to avoid that rather painful part of the process. I don't want the process to be as painful for you as it was for me. But I'm also kind of glad that I had the experiences that I had because it taught me a lot. So here we are. When you first write your book, so I'm not going to talk about writing today. I do coach people to write, but today I'm not talking about writing. Today I'm talking about what to do once your manuscript is written. So you've written your book, you've had it edited, you've polished it, you're happy with it, you're ready to get it out there. And now this is like, oh my goodness, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I get this done? So I'm just going to briefly run through the options available to you. What you choose to do is entirely up to you. I'm not telling you to do one thing or the other, but I'm advising you what the options are. And from my experiences, the options that I've chosen, which I feel work best for me. So please don't feel like I'm telling you what to do. I'm just advising you based on my own experience and what I know about the industry so far. So here we go. There are several ways in which you can publish. The first way, there are lots of people out there who will phone you up and tell you they'd love to publish your book, and it's great, and they'll get it out there, and yeah, this is fabulous. This happened exactly to me, and you feel hugely flattered, and you think you've made it, and you think this is great, and someone's actually interested in my work, and they want to publish it, and then they hit you with and it'll cost you several thousand. Dollars, pounds, whatever it is that the country that they operate in, it's a lot of money usually. These guys are called vanity publishers, and in my experience, are not. I'd say they're to be avoided. In my experience, I was approached by a vanity publisher. It cost me around about $2,000 to publish my first book. The process was dreadful, and I'm sure this is, not true of everyone, but it was terrible. The finished work was quite poor quality. There were a lot of mistakes in it. I was promised an expedite service, which I didn't get. The process took ages, and they then set the price of my book at something like $15, which was not appropriate for my style of book. And I also found that I was bound to them for rights and royalties. And I also found that I had very little control over my manuscript, over the way it was marketed, over the way it was put on the Amazon platform at the time. However, they wanted that large price tag, and there were rights and royalties to be paid after it. So these are what they call vanity publishers. They hadn't even read my work. So if a publisher phones you and tells you, "Yeah, I'd love to publish your work," and they've not read it, there should be alarm bells ringing like crazy in your head. Who on earth would publish a book that they haven't read? My book could have been 2 pages of my shopping list. They don't know what's in there. It could have been absolute rubbish. It could have been offensive. It could have been inappropriate. It could have been a million things. These companies are there basically to publish as many books as they can, charge as much money as they can for that process, and to reap the rewards in that way. So I would say vanity publishing, do not do it. If somebody's not read your manuscript, they're certainly not a traditional publisher, because it's ludicrous to publish something, to put something out there that you have no knowledge about, you have no vested interest in, you have no idea what it's about. So if somebody asks you to publish your work and there is a huge price tag, I'm not saying that there won't be any costs involved in publishing, but if there is quite an exorbitant amount of money attached to that publishing deal, I would not take that. Personally, that is a vanity publishing contract. Sometimes they will dress it up as a contributory deal, which basically they'll say, right, you contribute 25%, we'll contribute 75%, and then we'll get your work out there. And your contribution could be as much as $3,000. They're trying to make you think that it costs $12,000 to publish a book. That's not the case. So there are vanity publishers. The next avenue you can go down is traditional publishing. I have been traditionally published twice, and these is either by large publishing houses or by small, what we call indie, little independent publishing houses. If you get offered a traditional publishing deal, you will either get some sort of an advance, or you will certainly not be asked for any costs up front, so that you won't be charged for cover design, you won't be charged for printing, etc. This sounds great. And when I got traditionally published, I thought, whoa, this is great. I've made it. I'm on the shelves, as it were. This is fantastic. The one thing I found about that was that once again, and this is true for all of your books, however you choose to publish them, once again, even though I was traditionally published, the marketing was down to me. Publishers are highly unlikely to do any of your marketing for you unless you are already very famous. The reason for that is because marketing is really time consuming, it's really expensive, takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of effort. So, it's not really worth their while. I get it. Your marketing is going to be for me, the marketing is much harder than writing the book. And it takes more time, actually. So, although I got a traditional publishing deal, I soon realized that I had to sell a lot of copies before I made any money at all. I was bound to the publisher for my rights and royalties. So I will be expected to pay royalties to that publisher forever after for selling my book. And I got zero help with my marketing. So although I didn't have any costs in the publishing, my costs are long term. And I kind of thought, do you know what? I've done all this work. I've written the book. I'm still doing loads of marketing, and I'm paying royalties to a publisher when I don't really know what I'm getting for that. Even if you publish one of the big five, your HarperCollins, your Penguin, you still are going to be responsible for your own marketing unless you've got a huge following and you're already a celebrity, because it's not worth their while. The other thing about traditional publishing is it can be really arduous. I think J.K. Rowling alone got something like 60 rejections before she was traditionally published. The thing about traditional publishing is there's a submission process. You quite often will have to find an agent before you find a publisher, and finding an agent can be every bit as hard as finding a publisher. You will need to submit to the right agent who publishes your genre of books, and you might need to do that multiple times, as I've just said. And the submission requirements for every publisher will be slightly different. Some will want a synopsis, some will want the first 3 chapters edited, some will want other kind of formats. It can be a very arduous process. It can be quite demoralizing, it's time consuming, and it can feel like an uphill struggle. So I'm not saying don't pursue a traditional publishing deal, but remember that the submission process can be arduous. Be prepared for a lot of rejection. Be prepared for having to get an agent first, which can be every bit as difficult. And be prepared to be submitting your royalties for pretty much the duration of your book being on sale to that publisher. So if your book suddenly becomes, an overnight success, your publisher is going to be getting a lot of that revenue from your book. So I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying that's the things to bear in mind. The other avenue that you can do is self-publishing. Again, self-publishing is where you literally upload your book yourself, usually to a platform like KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, and then that book is then put on the Amazon platform for sale. There's no harm in self-publishing. There is a little bit of snobbery with self-publishing in that some bookshops will not take your book if it looks like it's a published book, because there's no logo on the back and it just looks like you've done it yourself. That's not to say there aren't some great books out there that have been self-published, and it is a good way to get your book out there. You will need quite a lot of technical ability to get your book onto the platform, get it formatted correctly. You've got to, what's the word? You've got to sort of comply with all of the formatting restrictions on the KDP platform. So if you're a little bit unsure or you're not quite sure how to do that, that can be quite an arduous process, but it's perfectly possible. You have also got something called assisted self-publishing, and these are people who will help you do all the technical stuff, get your book onto the platform, but it's still a self-published book. And you will pay a nominal fee for that usually. And what it means is, with self-publishing and with assisted self-publishing, it means that you will still retain all of your rights and royalties. The Amazon service is a print on demand service, so your books are only printed when they're sold. It keeps costs down, but you will retain your rights and royalties. So it's still your book, it's your baby still. You will still be expected to do your own marketing, but as we've said before, no change there. You're still expected to do your own marketing, however you publish. And finally, when I got to book number 9 and I was almost at the point of giving up, I met a lady who was a successful writer in her own right. She was traditionally and self-published both ways, and she ran a hybrid publishing company whereby it's kind of like a bit like assisted self-publishing. It's a hybrid. It's sort of a mixture of everything. So what she did was she uploaded my book to the platform under her publishing house logo. So I got the kudos of a publishing house. I've got the lovely little logo on the back of my book. I got the support from her with her technical team to make sure my book was formatted correctly and uploaded onto the platform correctly. And I also got an independent ISBN number. If you traditionally publish, you will get an independent ISBN number. If you self-publish, you will get one provided by Amazon, which is fine, but it means you can only market your book on Amazon. So what she did for me was she gave me the kudos of a publishing house. I retained all of my rights and royalties. I had the lovely publishing logo on the back of my book, and I got technical support. And she basically saved me from giving up. I'd got to the point where I thought, this is too hard. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting kind of conflicting information all over the place. I don't really want to pursue the traditional publishing route because I'm finding the whole process a bit demoralizing, and I don't want to give up my rights and royalties. I definitely don't want to be the victim of vanity publishing again. I don't really want to self-publish because I want a little bit more kudos behind my book than that. So this was the perfect answer for me. So fast forward a few years, and I decided that I wanted to do the same. I wanted to provide that for new writers struggling as I was. So what I do now is I help new writers to publish their books, providing it's we do vet the books and we do have a look and make sure that they're good quality products, and then we help you with our technical team, we help you to upload your book to the KDP platform and subsequently onto Amazon. You get an independent ISBN number, which means you can also market your book on other platforms and bookshops besides Amazon. And also you get the kudos of a publishing house logo. So you're basically a self-published author under the umbrella of a publishing house. So it's a hybrid publishing method. For me, that was the answer to my problems, answer to all of my prayers, and the method that I chose. And I would imagine for lots of new authors out there, it's great because you get the support, you get the help, you get the kudos, as I say, of being published, but you still retain your rights and royalties. So for me, that was the method that I favoured above everything else. So there are your 4 options. You've got vanity publishing, you've got self-publishing or assisted self-publishing, you've got traditional publishing, or smaller publishing houses, which is we sometimes call indie publishing, and you've got the hybrid publishing method, which is a kind of a combination of traditional and self-publishing, really. So those are the options available to you. I hope you found this advice helpful. If you are at the stage where you've written your book and you don't really know where to go next and you'd like some help, I'm always available to help. You can find me at Karen Stanley Author on Facebook. You can send me a DM, or you can email me info@ karenstanley-author.co.uk. If you've got any publishing questions, send me a message and I'll be happy to help, because I'm really keen, as I say, to help new authors to avoid the costly mistakes. They were costly financially and they were costly emotionally. They sent me almost crackers. So I'm very keen to help new writers avoid those pitfalls. So if you've got any publishing queries or publishing questions, or if you'd like someone to take a look at your work and give you any pointers about where to go next, myself and my technical team are always on standby to give you a hand. And that you would then be the proud author of a book published by Mabel and Stanley Publishing. So take care. I hope that's answered some of your questions. And again, this is just my advice to you. The route that you choose must be right for you and your book, and something that you have faith in. So choose what's right for you. I hope that's been helpful. Take care and see you again soon.